mention that. But so this morning we do have a guest. So I am going to get into our meeting. Welcome. Introducing our guest speaker, and then we're going to have a time for introductions and updates. But yeah, so a little bit about the NC Latino Community Task Force. Our mission is to be the voice of the community and to advocate across different sectors in North Carolina. Our goals are to be a multidisciplinary task force focused on Latino and marginalized issues, to intensively collaborate with local community partners, community members, and federal and state representatives, to educate the communities on the resources and any up-to-date news, and lastly, to engage in our role as leaders and have consistency in our work. So this morning, we are going to be having Hector M. Danois. He is the International Activities and Language Access Coordinator at the Program Office in the Office of Regional Administrator at the Environmental Protection Agency. So Hector has had the opportunity to serve and lead in various capacities at the Water and Land Enforcement Divisions. As a 33-year-old career employee in the EPA Region 4, Hector has also been a part of the EPA International Activities team that is talking to Central America countries about their environmental obligations under the Central America Dominican Republic Free Trade Agreement, as well as the U.S.-Panama Free Trade Agreement / Environmental Cooperation Agreement. Hector is a civil engineer who graduated from the University of Puerto Rico, Mayagüez. So with that, I want to welcome Hector and thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Marlene, and thank you for inviting me to participate. Like Marlene mentioned, my name is Hector, and I currently work as an international activities coordinator, and I can talk a little bit more about that later during my presentation. But here today, Marlene asked me to talk a little bit about EPA and our mission. And I'm going to try to give you the best, EPA is a fairly big agency with a lot of programs with a very simple mission. I'm going to share my screen today.
Hector, let me know if you can see it. Okay, there we go.
Okay. I'm not a expert in Zoom. We use Teams, so I usually use Zoom to call my parents. Can everybody see?
So we see presenter view. If you like.
Let me change that. What about now? Perfect. Okay. So as Marlene's mentioned, we have a presentation that what our mission and what we do. Somebody's calling me now. Next. So as you maybe you're too young to remember, but back in the 70s, this is what the United States of America looked like. And that caused that in 1970, I think it was December of 1970, President Nixon created the Environmental Protection Agency. Back in those days, actually, these are some of the photos. We used to have rivers caught fire, and that was the most dramatic thing that you can imagine. A river actually caught on fire, but because it was a pollution, there were issues with oil spills. There was landfills everywhere, and that air issues was mostly a lot of issues that we were very visual to everyday Americans. So this is how it used to look like back in the 70s. And we was created with a very simple mission: protection of human health and the environment. Here on EPA, it has 10 different regions. One in our headquarters in Washington, D.C. We are located here in Region 4, Atlanta, where we cover the Southeast. That includes North Carolina. And 7 other states. I think we are the biggest region in terms of population, coasts, and not landmass, but number of industries that we have here in our region. Like I mentioned before, we have a simple mission: protection of human health and environment. How do we do that? Making sure that the clean and the land and the water are, we have that protection, reduction of environmental risks with the scientific data. This is very important for our agency. We have a lot of scientists, we have a lot of engineers. We try to make sure that every environmental rule determination is based on the best available scientific information. Did we get it wrong? Once in a while, we get it wrong, but that's part of the scientific method. We go back, review, analyze, and try to improve those regulations. We do that by introducing federal law, making sure that those laws are enforced in a fairly manner. That was out of my 33 years of career, 20 of those was in an enforcement division, visiting a lot of inspections, spending a lot of time in North Carolina, visiting different industries, municipalities, cities, making sure that the folks met the different environmental rules. Environmental stewardship, it's very important. We try to make sure that we balance a little bit of everything from environmental human health, economic growth, to impact to the industry once establishing those environmental policies. And the important part here is that all parts of society, we have concerns. It's not only, we make sure that communities, individual, business, state, local, tribe, governments have the same information and are part of this process as anybody. We make sure the contaminated lands and toxic sites are cleaned up through our Superfund program. One of the things that surprised me when I started this job 33 years ago is that even the federal government is one of the biggest polluters that we can think when we're dealing with environmental issues. This Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, it's a big issue now that you hear all the time. All the lawsuits based on, water issues. You name it, from Manhattan Project. I have the opportunity for many years going into Tennessee and going to those sites where the Manhattan Project was, talking about the Oppenheimer movie, where the Manhattan Project was developed. There's a lot of contamination there that we're still dealing to this day, and we make sure that the Department of Energy and Department of Defense take care of it. And also chemicals in the marketplace. I know this is something that I learned recently, not long ago. In the past, when I started EPA was not in the business of making or sponsoring or giving approval of different products. Now, on the EPA Safer Choice, we have a group of folks testing different chemicals, mostly cleaners and things that can affect folks in their home, to say which is the safer option. And that's something new that we're doing. If you Google EPA Safer Choice, you're going to see a list of different products in the market that it can help. How can we accomplish our mission? Well, normally the way we work is Congress writes some environmental laws, the Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act, the Superfund, we call the Recovery, Conservation, and Recovery Act. Those are laws that are passed by Congress with certain amount of guidelines, and EPA has developed regulations based on those guidelines that Congress provides us. And that's how we come up with rules and regulations based on a law. Another way we do is accomplish our mission is by giving grants. EPA provides a lot of money to the public for nonprofits, educational institutions, environmental programs to be able to help us achieve our agency. In addition, like I mentioned before, we are located in Atlanta and we cover 8 states, but we cannot be in 8 states doing the 24/7 job that we require. What we do is we provide a grant to the state of North Carolina or and North Carolina DEQ to basically we delegate the program to the states and they do our mission in the states. And based on those grants, we also have to have a program. We actually oversee the states that they meet the requirements of the money that we gave them to be able to comply with making sure that they are meeting our standards. Let me show you. Hopefully I can you see that? These are some of if you go to specific grants or under EPA, here's a number of different grants that you can find for that can apply for anybody can apply, from air grants to children's health to educational programs to you name it, environmental justice. These are the different grants that are available for the public and different institutes. So this is a great option for get some funding if you need it. We conduct all environmental studies. In addition to the 10 different offices, we have labs around the state, around the nation. We have one here in Athens, Georgia, that deal with a lot of, if I remember correctly, climate change. There's a big lab in Raleigh, we'll call it RTP. They deal a lot of issues with air. We have folks in Michigan. Those are the folks that deal with when you buy a new car, you'll see EPA rated 30 miles. Those are the folks in Michigan making sure that those standards are met. We have folks in Corvallis. I think it's 10 different labs doing research. There's one big one in Cincinnati, Ohio, that deals mostly with water research. The new, I don't know if you guys have heard of the term PFAS. This is forever chemicals that the agency in the past few years have been very involved trying to find out the best way to remove or treat these chemicals out of water, air, and soil. And they're called forever chemicals because they have been very difficult to remove. Once they get into the system, get into the water, it's very hard to remove. Not even any water treatment system right now or wastewater treatment systems can treat those chemicals. So now there's a lot of research in that, specifically in this Cincinnati office. So we continue to learn more every day from everything. So we have great number of scientists dealing with that. We have a lot of sponsorships and partnerships. We work with businesses, nonprofits, state and local governments to be able to do this work, trying to conserve water, energy, greenhouses issues, the reduction of solid waste, reduction of pesticide use, making sure that food is safe, that there's no food waste. We have some programs dealing with food waste issues as well. In our agency, we have a number of things that we work with sponsorships and partners. One important thing that we do is try to teach people about the environment. We have it's called the environmental education group that go out there trying to teach every day to students, to universities, to the public about EPA roles and how to protect the environment. So this is something that we can easily get involved if you need information for students or for different entities and the public. This issue for the past 20-something years, environmental justice have been in the forefront of our agency. When we mean environmental justice, is typically a lot of this big industries, landfills, areas of large pollutions are located where this disadvantaged communities are. And the agency for the past 20 years or so has been looking in specifically to those communities to make sure that there's some kind of there's not a disadvantage when you decide to buy property or decide to live in an area where pollution is greater. So we make sure that when new permits are given to, let's say, install a new facility or put a new landfill, that those areas are protected, that they're not are picked based on the level of poor, race, or color, or national origin. That we're trying to make sure that those, and to protect those areas that already have that type of situation, that we make sure that we enforce the rules, that we protect the rules, and that we done it in the right way. This administration has been going up quite a lot in this effort, not only trying to protect communities, but also making sure that those communities are involved, are in the table. Here, if you can, let me show you if you know, there's a big law that recently passed, Inflation Reduction Act, and how that affects environmental justice. These are some of the areas that we have talked about, or have making sure that we provide grants to those areas. There's the term Justice 40, is that we make sure that that all those grants, that 40% of all that funding goes to those disadvantaged communities. Because we think that's a very important thing, that especially in the past that have been marginalized, that we make sure that we take care of it. So there's a number of projects under, or options and programs under the IRA, or Infrastructure Reduction Act, that we make sure that we cover. And these are, again, funding programs available that you might be interested in looking later, in terms of topics. And we have a pretty big environmental justice group here in Region 4, and we can talk up a little more that, give you more information about that. This is something that you might be very interested in. Our EJ, what we call the EJ group here in Region 4, we provide a lot of training to the public. And these are not only to the public, also for governments and in internal training. These specific trainings are for the public. And let me know, write me an email. Maybe Marlene can, if you're interested, you can send me an email with everybody, so I can include them in the mass mailer to be able to participate in this type of training. From this month, it's going to be an EJ overview. This is where you learn about the program, the history, and all that of the program. There's community engagement training in July. This is still in the works specifically, and we can get more information later. About also in August, environmental justice resources. You can learn from this. Right now we have lots of tools. If you go to epa.gov, it's a pretty overwhelming webpage, but you can find a lot of information here. Let's say if you live in a community, if you're interested what's going on in your neighborhood, you can find here information, use tools to get specific information about your neighborhood. What industry surrounds you, what type of, if they are in compliance with the law or not, what kind of a industry they are. It's something that you can look here currently and we'll provide you the information. All of this is based on public information. So, and everything that we do, I will say 90% of what the agency does is it's public information. So you can find all these tools here and in the EPA webpage. And during this training, they provide more information about that. And in October, they're going to provide what's actually the law. Title VI is a very strong law that provides communities with um, with the sorry with the communities with the laws that pertain to the community. And we've been seeing communities using them quite a bit to make sure that they are not discriminated. And I'm going to talk some of the programs. It's kind of hard to talk specifically all EPA programs during a 20-minute talk, but I'm going to talk a few that might be interesting for this type for you guys here in this group. Agricultural Worker Protection Standards. EPA, this is a very important program to protect migrant workers. We hear a lot about, migrant workers. We hear a lot about, things about migrant workers sometimes, unfortunately. But they are, very important workforce for us here living in the United States. And because of that, the agency has taken steps to protect those workers and making sure that they follow, that the folks that they work under follow the law. And recently we have started a program where we have one of the things that we seen is something as simple as proper translations of labels, pesticide labels. That's something that we are now seeing more and more because we know that folks that are using the pesticides are Spanish speaker, mostly are Spanish speakers. So we might want to make sure that those labels, the proper way to handle those labels, the proper way of using PPE or protection are in Spanish, that they understand the dangers of the work that sometimes they do, not only for themselves, but also for their families. We're seeing in occasions where a pesticide worker gets contaminated with pesticides, and then they go to their house, bringing all those materials to their homes, and it becomes a bigger issue. So this is a very important program that we do. Again, if you need more information, feel free to email me. At the end, I'll provide more information about my email. As I talked before, more information about Inflation Reduction Act, specifically for North Carolina. Like recently, North Carolina received some funding for air quality issues and EJ under this Inflation Reduction Act. Also recently, as of last week, EPA has available about 20 billion in grants to be able to deliver clean energy and clean solutions to communities, covering from green to solar panels to different communities that have used coal for many, many years, and now they're trying to transition to either natural gas or for more specifically solar or any green technologies. There's another law here, we call it the bill law or bipartisan infrastructure law. This is where EPA is providing a lot of funding for improvement in drinking water, for improvement of wastewater systems. And I found out that recently North Carolina has received quite a bit of funding to be able to clean water and also on transportation issues. Here's where we're trying to promote green, like battery run buses, or battery run, school buses. This is something that this administration has been pushing for, making sure that we get those, you know, change diesel sort of based engines to more of a clean versions. And here, let me tell you, this is one of the programs that I work with. In addition to be the international activities coordinator, we basically, and I work with different nations around the world trying to provide assistance. We have a great uh, reputation around the world of being one of the good agencies for a lot of our experts go and work with countries around the world to provide that assistance in different areas. Like Marlene mentioned, I used to work with a lot of Central America and South America, providing issues from clean water to wastewater to marine debris to um, clean air. The other work that I do, I'm the language access coordinator. And one thing that for the past 20 years, the agencies have been trying to make sure that we provide our services to communities that English is not their first language in their native language. So that's what we call the LEP, Limited English Proficiency Program, where basically we try to provide those services, vital services that the agency provides in native languages for the people. In the past, we have done that, like we have translated some documents in Spanish, different languages, but it has not been quite of a current or normal like we used to, what we're doing now. And the reason is because, the EP, the nation, it's United States, has changed for the past number of years. Currently, we have around 60 million people that speak other languages than English here in the United States, and 25 million require assistance. And as you know, we know that sometimes our first language at home, it might be in our case Spanish, and that's the way they communicate mostly within their communities. So we make sure that if you need information, and the languages that a community needs, we do it. We do translations, we do provide interpretations, not only in Spanish, with a number of languages that are spoken around the nation. And the idea is to provide that, to make sure that those communities are not left behind because of the barrier of language. So we want to make sure that we do that. And usually the way we do it is we're working on that right now, is that if we have a community, if we have a permit that somebody's writing, or we have a project like a cleanup in a site, or we're doing a public meeting, we want to make sure that we look into language through the census data, to EJ, to a number of different tools that tell us what percentage are non-native speaker, or English is not their first language. And based on that information, we try to be proactive and bring that information in those languages that we think that the community might need. But it doesn't matter if we think that there's some languages that the community needs. If a person comes to a meeting, or if a person wants to participate in a meeting and they say, I need assistance, I need translation, I need interpretation in X language, the agency has to provide the language. If it's one person making the request, we have to provide that service. So that's very important that we're doing now to make sure that we are engaged with the community. We also have a service that if you call the agency and English is not their first language, we have a service called telephonic interpretation, where you can you can request somebody on the phone to speak to you in your native language and serve you as an interpreter talking to somebody in the agency. We also have the great fortune now with the diversity that we have here in our region is we have folks in our region we call them language ambassadors that are volunteers that we have 21 different languages spoken in our regional office. From Spanish to Swahili to Haitian Creole to Hindu to French, folks in our region that can speak and help you I don't want to say translate because translator means you need a certified, but it can help you navigate a little bit, give you the first in the agency and provide you some information, basic information in your language to folks that are from the public calling the agency. Here's a little map of showing of how languages varied from the in different states. And this is sort of this map is showing you, it's not Spanish, sorry. This is languages other than Spanish, the most spoken in each state. Because Spanish is usually normal, the most second language. But other than that, like in Florida, Haitian Creole, other than Spanish, is the second language most spoken. So we want to make sure if we do presentations or let's say in Miami, we do a training that in addition to Spanish, the Haitian Creole, that information is provided Haitian Creole. The same in Georgia with Korean and Mississippi is Vietnamese, and in the Carolinas, surprisingly, is French, and Tennessee is Arabic. So different, surprisingly, you will see languages other than Spanish also spoken in homes around the nation, around the states. With that, if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Hector, for that great presentation. I learned a lot more about the EPA. I did want to open up a poll so that you guys can be added to the newsletter that he mentioned. So if you could please answer, it's really short. And then if you could add your email in the chat box so I can give that list to Hector. And yeah, we'll open up for any questions or comments and anything. I know, Juvencio, if you want to get us started.
And again, let me give you a little disclaimer. If you ask for a specific question about a program, although I've been in the agency for 33 years, I'm not expert on every specific program. What I can do is, if you ask me a question about a specific program, I can get the information, try to get the best, and find you the person that might help you with that. I'm good at that. I know a lot of people because of my program in the international activities. I tend to try to find folks, experts in the different areas that can help you find the right information. But I'm giving that disclaimer for any questions.
So Hector, this has been great. Thank you, Juvencio Rocha Peralta with the Association of Mexicans in North Carolina. I do have a couple of questions, but yes, overall, I think this has been a great presentation. Knowing the natural situation that happens in states like North Carolina, especially dealing with the Latino community, we are new immigrants in this state, but also we have a lot of issues. And environmental is one of the big ones. So thank you for coming here and talk to us. My first question is around the region. You say you represent Region 4, which is seven states?
8.
8 states. So Region 4. And so I guess in North Carolina, you work with public agencies mostly? Or nonprofits?
Mostly with North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, I think it is. The name of the agency, yes, that's our main. But we work with a different number of, from Fish and Wildlife to, different agencies around that are in North Carolina, but are on the nation, yeah.
And the other question is around the environmental justice training. Do you offer the trainings as how does it lay out? Is it like a seminar type thing, or is it a series of trainings, or how does it? Can you give
Well,
us a little?
yeah, it depends. Like our EJ group is doing now, it's a, they call it a spring series, where they, it's such a big topic that they basically change it, spare in, I think, 4 different areas, from introduction, what does it mean, EJ, and it's usually an hour, 2 hour webinar. They don't want to make it too long either, too boring. Um, um, Through, I think it's either Teams or Zoom. Um, One thing that they're trying to do now is, if people request language assistance, they can provide, other languages as well. But basically, it's the basics of EJ program. Then it goes to tools, specific tools that you can use as a community, um, and different areas of different type of trainings that basically provides assistance to the public be able to um, be better engaged with our agency, be better engaged with the communities involved, things about the environment.
And it can be conducted in Spanish, right?
They have ways to do it in Spanish. We have done that in the past, where I think we have different language channels, and they have an interpreter um, providing the translation or the interpretation in Spanish or any language. Also, we're trying to do now also for hearing impaired too. Um, um, and there's something new now, 508, where they make it bigger, bold letters. We're trying to make sure that everybody is not left behind. So visual impaired, I think they're trying to make bigger letters, bolder letters, making sure that everybody can see a presentation.
My last question is around the grants that you were talking about. That your agency provides some technical support for new agencies that would like to submit proposals for those grants.
That's a good question, and I can find more information about that. And I think one of the trainings is about grants, and that's probably where you can get, but I can find you more information about that, about grants proposal.
It would be great because a lot of the partners here at this task force are community-based organizations and maybe can benefit from that. And also to kind of what you just presents to us. I mean, I really see some opportunity to develop some programs or some initiatives to serve the community and the region.
Yeah, a lot of the things that tell the new kids, I do too, go out, EPA is hiring, and what we want to make sure that we have a diverse agency. So I'm the Hispanic Employment Program Manager as well. And so we go out to college universities, try to hire people. And one of the things that I tell them, learn how to write a grant, because that's specific skill that you need to be able to be successful to obtain a grant. Because they're sometimes may be very complicated. They're, very, they tell you it's 1 page long, and if you write 1.5 page, they might throw you out just because you wrote too much. It's very technical sometimes. You have to use the right words, right terms. So I tell college kids, learn how to write grants. In addition to science and all that stuff, learn how to do grants.
Thank you, Hector. Thank you, Marlene.
Thank you.
Something, okay, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Something that I forgot to mention, and I think I mentioned to this to Marlene, EPA has a meeting in Wilmington with the ministers of Canada and Mexico. It's going to be in June 24th to 26th. And they do this every year. They sort of go, they have, it's, as we heard, we have our NAFTA, this agreement between Canada, Mexico, and United States. And because of that, there's a big environmental chapter. And every year, the three heads of the different environmental ministries get together to talk different topics, specifically for their country. Last year was in Mexico. This year is in the United States, and because of the EPA administrator is from North Carolina, it's going to be in Wilmington. And based on what I'm reading right now through the agenda, it's going to be EJ heavy. Environmental justice will be a big topic on this. And something that when we think EJ, unfortunately, the Latino group has not taken advantage of that podium. And we're seeing, and that's one of the reasons that I'm doing this, engaging with more Latino groups, is to make sure that as Latinos, we get the same part of the thing, some amount of the pot, that we are in the table. If you're not in the table talking about our topics, we're not gonna be heard. And I try to see if you can go to this, because it's very, very telling. You can learn a lot about this. And I think it's open to the public through different EJ sessions. Of course, they have, meetings with the different countries, but I think there's a lot of public information. I think there's one day of public information, and I can provide that information later. But I think being in North Carolina, being in Wilmington, talking about EJ issues, I think it's you might be important to try to go to this event if possible. I'm going to try to go because that's part of my duties is to, as international activities, working with Mexico and Canada. And I think that's very important for you to participate. But I can provide you more information specifically about the public meeting part of it.
Thank you, Hector. And I did find a link for a newsletter, and I think if you have a direct link, that would be helpful for the participants who joined the meeting this morning. But I did see Luz had your hand raised. Good morning, Luz.
Yes, hi, good morning, everyone. Just mentioning that at the state level, we have a person at DEQ who is doing a lot of the work for Hispanic and Latinos, which is Carolina Fonseca Jimenez. She's the Diversity and Equity Manager in Public Affairs for DEQ. She's a great resource and asset, and I believe currently she's working on implementing a language access plan, or she has already implemented a language access plan for DEQ in relations to environmental justice and all of that stuff. She is the point of contact for me at the state level.
Yeah, you mentioned the language plan. I'm actually working on updating ours right now. And it's going to be quite a bit of a shift for what we used to do in the past. In the past, we waited for folks to ask us for translation and interpretation to provide the service. Now we are sort of taking the approach of let's find out first what the community looks like, what languages potentially they might, they're other than English are spoken in that community, and provide the services before they ask. Because in the past it was more of a waiting to see. And it's great to know that there's somebody in North Carolina doing the same thing. And I'm probably gonna call Carolina and find more information. Because one of the things that we are noticing here in our region is we have not done a good job, especially for Latino communities, dealing with all these environmental issues. And for a number of reasons, but I think we can do better.
Thank you, Liz, for sharing, and she did share that contact information in the chat box for anyone interested. We did have one question from Brian. Will presentation be available to participants? Are links available to training and funding opportunities? So Hector, will this presentation can I share this presentation with the members?
Yes. Yeah, you can share that presentation.
Thank you. And Brian, I hope that answered the question. So the PowerPoint did have those links that he mentioned about those funding opportunities. If you're interested in the trainings, I will be sharing the emails that were placed in the chat box with Hector, so he can add to the newsletter. And that newsletter, I'm sure, will have the link to register for those trainings. Are there any other questions or comments?
Hector, the conference in Wilmington is free to the public, or you have to pay for?
That's a good question.
Give us some scholarships and some grants for the conference.
No, honestly, I don't know. I think it's free, but I don't want to, I'll get more information. I'm not sure. But I think it's free because if it's open to the public, at least one session, I know that they do this big EJ session every year or so that is open to the public. The rest, I need to find out more about that. But I'll share it with you guys once we find out. They're still working on the sort of the agenda specifics about it, some planned visits, you know how it is when diplomatic missions are coming and it's kind of, the public and all that, but it shouldn't be, I don't think it should be hard to get in.
Thank you, Hector. We appreciate you coming out and joining us this morning and sharing a little bit more about the work you do and the services that EPA has to offer. So with that, we are going to move into the agenda. So I did want to share a couple of things real quickly, and then I do want to hear if you guys have any upcoming events or webinars. So as usual, we have our tutoring for K to 12 in Pitt County and Wilson County. So in Pitt County, we have it every Tuesday and Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. In Wilson, we have it every Wednesday from 4 to 6. And if you guys know of anybody who needs help with school, please be sure to send them our way. We'll be happy to assist them. We do have a 4-H program for Wilson County, and that meeting is once a month. It is the third Wednesday at 6 p.m. So we usually have a flyer to be able to share with that. So be on the lookout for that if you have any kids or know of any community members that might be interested in joining. Our food drive is every first Friday of the month. So we did have one this past Friday from 4 to 6. We were able to serve around 100 families. So that was really nice. Our next one will be May 3rd, and it will be at our main office on Evans Street. If you guys are interested in joining us that day, please be sure to send me an email. I'll add that to the chat box. But yeah, next we have a webinar tomorrow at 5 p.m. It's a heart health webinar, partnership with our NC Latino Health Alliance. A flyer will be shared shortly. We have our bilingual job fair coming up this Friday from 1 to 3. It will be at the Pitt County Agricultural Center. The address is listed below. There may still be time if you want to come out that day to have a table if you guys are hiring, but Alma will be point of contact for that. Next is our Mexican internship. I apologize for that. Our internship reception. It will be on April 18th at 2:30 p.m. at our Evans office, and it is welcome. We're welcoming our community partners to come out and join us for our lunch to celebrate all the work that the interns have done this past semester. Lastly, we have our Community Promoters Conference in the NC Rule Center. This will be next Friday, April 19th from 9 to 2 p.m. There are a few spots available. If you guys are interested in joining us that day, it will be a really nice conference with hearing more about los promotoras in North Carolina and how we can support them and help them out. I will share the link for this one in the chat box in a second. The next thing we have is Dia del Niño in Wilson County. This will be Saturday, April 20th from 11 to 1 p.m. And it will be at our in partnership with Seeds of Hope in Wilson County. Next, for Pitt County, we have Dia del Niño, which will be on the 27th from 12 to 3. And the location will be not Evans Street. It will be at Welcome Middle School. So I do apologize for that typo. But those are all the events that we have. So I'm going to open it up for you guys. If you guys have any upcoming events that you'd like to share, you guys are welcome to raise your hand. If I don't see any hands raised or anybody in meeting, I will go down the list so that we can hear from you guys. So I'll start off with Alex. Good morning, Alex. Now we'll move over to Belen. Good morning, Belen.
Good morning. My name is Belen. I work for the Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina, based out of Raleigh. And I work with the nutrition programs team. We have a pop-up kind of food distribution it'll be in Mount Olive, I believe, and it's in June. So I'll keep coming to the meetings and sharing, but just so it's on your radar.
Thank you, Belen. I did see Alex, you unmuted. Would you like to share any updates, upcoming events you guys have?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alex Cordova from Lila LGBTQ in Durham. We have every 2 weeks one support group for LGBT people over 40s. Yeah, and thank you for stay here and have a great day.
Thank you, Alex. Next, we have Brian Byfield. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Brian Byfield, the North Carolina Office of Recovery and Resiliency. On April 17th, we'll be having a webinar, Navigating North Carolina's Rising Temperatures and Understanding and Addressing the Health Risks of Heat. And I will drop the information in the chat, and I've also shared that with your outreach email, so you can pass that along to folks as you deem appropriate. Thanks.
Thank you, Brian. We'll be happy to share that. So next I have Elud de Jesus, the Greenville urban area. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, hi. I'm Elliot De Jesus with the Greenville Urban Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. My organization, what it does is it plans the programs that improve infrastructure improvements for transportation, that is roadway, pedestrian, bicycle, including greenways, transit, airports, and all modes of transportation. We do not have a specific date for our upcoming event, but we are updating our transportation plan. And we're looking to partner and share the information with MXCAN of when we have those events so we could get public input on the recommendations for the next horizon years.
So thank you for joining us this morning. And if there's anything you have to share, I did put the email in the chat box.
Thank you.
So next I have Erika. Good morning.
Oh, good morning. Erica Reynolds. I'm with Trillium Health Resources. We are a newly merged organization, so we're in a 46 county service area. So we have our Northern Child Consumer and Family Advocacy Council meeting today at 5:30, and tomorrow from 9 to 10:30 we'll have our Pitt County Resource Connection. So I don't really have the new location for that, but if you go to trilliumhealthresources.org, that information is readily available. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us and thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Next, I have Ferris. Good morning, Ferris.
Good morning. I'm the district attorney for Pitt County, and right now we don't have any upcoming events, other than we're holding court every day, actually.
Okay, thank you for joining us this morning. Next, I have iPhone. Good morning. If not, we'll hop on over to Jess. Good morning, Jess.
Good morning. I'm feeling a bit under the weather, so excuse me. I'm with Institute for Emerging Issues, and we're doing a lot of digital inclusion planning right now in the eastern part of the state. So if we work directly with the COGS, and we're funding those planning processes. So if folks are interested in digital equity, digital inclusion, or working on that, please contact me. I'll drop my email in the chat and I can connect you with the folks at the COGS who are doing that on the ground planning. In addition, in June, we're going to be having a big conference in the western part of the state in Flat Rock. I will send that out through your outreach email. It's free and open to everyone, and we have some limited scholarships for travel. But just know that that's going to be our first of many digital inclusion gatherings across the state. So we'll be planning to do one, multiple in the East in the coming years as well. I'm going to drop my email in the chat.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you for joining us. Next, I have Josmar.
Hey everybody, my name is Josmar Garcia. I am the health educator at Kinston Community Health Center, located in Kinston, North Carolina. As of now, we have no updates as far as the outreach department where I am a part of, but I just wanted to open the invitation for any other organization here on this call that if you by chance get a let's just say a patient or even an individual who's in need of any type of primary care health services, feel free to reach out to me. I think I put my email twice already in the chat box. So right now we currently serve 7 counties. So that's Lenore, Craven, Pitt, Jones, Wayne, Duplin, and Greene County. So hopefully that makes up the 7 that I mentioned. So if there's any referrals that you might get as a organization that needs any type of primary care services, feel free to let me know.
For joining us this morning, Josmar. And I'll be sharing your contact as well. So next I do want to go to Shermel. Good morning.
Good morning. This is Shamel with Hannah's Place. We are hosting a live panel discussion on our Facebook page for sexual assault awareness. It will be on Thursday, April the 11th from 6 to 7 p.m. We have therapists as well as law enforcement to discuss the different wounds and healing and awareness of sexual assault. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this morning. And if there's any flyer, please share it so we can share that with everyone, or a link. I'll be happy to do that so we can share on our social media as well. Next, I have Leo. Good morning, Leo. We'll move on next to Melissa. Good morning, Melissa. And if not, we'll move on to Mackenzie. Good morning, Mackenzie.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mary McKenzie. I work at the Office of Diversity and Equity for New Hanover County. And we have upcoming, we are partnering with the Latino Alliance from UNCW here in Wilmington. And we are hosting the Faith Action ID. So it is a non-governmental ID card, and that is coming up on the 20th and 21st of April, and it'll be at Morton Hall at UNCW. So we'll also be having a resource fair at the same time for for our community. So we're very excited to be hosting the Faith Action ID again here in Wilmington.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this morning. And if you have any flyers or links that you want us to share, the emails in the chat box, would be happy to do that. And with that, that concludes our meeting. I want to thank you guys for joining us, and I hope you guys have a great week, a great month. We will see you back in May. So yeah, thank you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. We'll be happy to help, or anyone from the staff as well. So thank you guys.
Hey, Marlene, can I share something real quick?
Yes, sorry, Leo.
Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting. I just want to, I'm Leo Scarpati with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina. I do want to share that our team has done a health equity assessment of Hispanic Latinos who actually have health insurance through Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina, and we found some disparities amongst the community. I know that a lot of times we hear about disparities for those that do not have health insurance, but there's disparities amongst members who do have health insurance. If anyone would like more information or would like a presentation on some of those numbers to help educate our communities for those that do have health insurance to go to the doctor, and on certain illnesses, I put my contact information in the chat, and I would love to hear from some folks. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Leo.
So,
I think
Leo,
we'll be in
can you be our next guest speaker?
I can
Can you
reach out to
offer?
the team. I can reach out to the team. Yeah, send me Juvencio, great to see you. I would love to bring someone from the healthcare team that did the study to be able to present on it. I didn't do the study myself, but from the community engagement standpoint, we want to make sure we get this information out into communities where it matters.
We'll be
So
in
Marlene,
contact.
you have your next speaker rather.
Yeah, we'll be in contact. Thank you. But yeah, we don't want to hold you guys up. I know it's lunchtime. But yes, thank you guys for joining, and we'll be in contact. Thank you, everyone.